President of the United States has signed legislation to reopen the federal government after a shutdown that had impacted millions of Americans and affected several global economic indicators. I am Sridhar Reddy, and in this special report, we break down what led to the shutdown, what this new legislation actually means, and how the reopening of America's government impacts both domestic governance and global stability.
In the prior 4 years, crooked Joe Biden oversaw less than $1 trillion of new investment in the United States. In 9 months, I've secured commitments of over $18 trillion. The stock market has set 40-time all-time record highs, and GDP growth in the second quarter was an amazing almost 4%. In the third quarter, we're on track to achieve an estimated 4.2, maybe more. Gasoline prices have plummeted to the lowest in 2 decades, and we're going to soon see $2 gasoline. Thinking grocery prices are way down, and Walmart just announced that the cost of their standard Thanksgiving meal is 25% lower than 1 year ago. Since March, the price of eggs is down 85%. Energy prices are down, interest rates are down, and the cost of the typical new mortgage is down by nearly $3,000 a year. Day by day, we're making America affordable again.
Government shutdowns occur in the United States when Congress fails to pass a federal budget or temporary funding bill in time. When that happens, thousands of government offices and services lose authorization to operate, affecting airport security, national parks, federal agencies, and even certain military operations. The most shutdowns the most recent shutdown resulted from a deadlock between administration and Congress over funding allocations. Several key government bodies experienced operational delays while federal employees face uncertainty over salaries and job continuity. The shutdown also had indirect global consequences: delays in US economic reports, holdups in federal regulatory approvals, and disruptions in international coordination through US led institutions. And earlier today, the White House, the president officially signed the legislation that reopens the federal government. Surrounded by senior advisors and press representatives, the signing marked the conclusion of several days of intense discussions and emergency negotiations. The bill provides temporary funding to restore federal operations, authorize departments to resume work, and ensure that federal employees receive pending pay. While temporary, this move has been widely welcomed as a necessary step to restore stability. For millions of Americans, the reopening of the government brings immediate relief. Federal workers who were furloughed or working without pay can now return to their duties with the assurance of receiving their pending salaries. Government services from visa processing to national park operations can resume normal schedules. Airports, which face long queues due to staff shortages, are expected to return to full operational strength. Several federal services critical to US trade, agriculture inspections, port services, and regulatory approvals can now restart, ensuring smooth economic functioning. Shutdowns have a measurable impact on economic confidence. During the shutdown, stock markets reflected uncertainty, and several international investors adopted a cautious approach. With the government reopening, markets are expected to stabilize. Financial institutions have already responded positively, and sectors dependent on federal oversight, including aviation, food inspection, and financial regulations, anticipate returning to predictable operations. The reopening also ensures that America's economic data, considered critical for global forecasting, can now be released without delay. The United States is deeply interconnected with global governance and trade. A shutdown impacts not just American citizens but international systems that rely on US coordination. Several multinational meetings, international aid approvals, and global regulatory decisions depend on functioning federal agencies. Investors, foreign governments, and global markets carefully track shutdown developments because they influence currency stability, import regulation, and diplomatic activity. With the government now reopening, diplomatic missions, visa processing, international summits, and trade documentations are expected to resume at full capacity. Politically, this episode highlights rising tensions between the executive branch and Congress. While signing of the bill brings relief, questions remain. Will another budget standoff occur soon? Will Congress negotiate long term funding or rely on short term extensions? How will this affect the president's momentum heading into a future legislative battles? Analysts agree that although the shutdown has ended, the underlying political disagreements remain unresolved. The legislation that reopened the government is temporary. It provides funding only for a limited time, requiring Congress and the administration to negotiate a longer term budget. In the coming weeks, budget committees will attempt to strike a balance between competing priority areas: defense spending, social service funding, infrastructure, and federal wages. How these negotiations unfold will determine whether America avoids future shutdown threats. The reopening of US government marks an important moment for domestic stability and international markets. However, the long-term path depends on bipartisan cooperation and successful budget talks. This has been your special report on Global Affairs Daily. I am Sridhar Reddy. Thank you for watching. Stay informed, stay aware, and stay globally connected.